Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Results May Vary. This week we're going to be painting Chewbacca from Star Wars Legion. And to start off, we're going to be starting off with some flat brown from Vallejo Model Color. You're going to want to color pretty much his entire body with this. And I've chosen to not glue on the arms at this time so that I can get to his body underneath it. You can choose to glue them on if you want to. I just prefer to do everything separately. So we will start off with painting his arms, and we will get those done with, and then we'll move on to his chest and his legs. And remember, we're going to be covering his whole body with this color. So make sure you thin your paints out. Take your time, get some good coverage. You're probably going to have to get 2 or 3 coats on there, but we will get there, and we'll be back after we're done. Okay, after we get Chewbacca all covered with our dark brown color, then we're going to want to come back with our Scrofulous Brown, and we're going to want to add some basically highlights. Before you do this, you should probably look at pictures of Chewbacca, figure out where you want the lighter colors to be. When I looked at it, it showed the lighter colors to be here on this part of the arm, this part of the arm, the front or the bottom portion of both legs, and the back also in this area right here, and then pretty much all over the face. So when we do this, just thin out your paints, take your time, try and get some decent coverage, and don't get it too thick. And it's gonna look really weird at first, but you just have to take faith. It's gonna look right after we get to the next step where we start adding in our shades and everything. Now after we get the Scrofulous Brown put on there, which is it's more orange than brown. If you look at pictures from Chewbacca in New Hope, his hair is kind of orangish brown. So I'm kind of hoping that this will work. But after we get done with that, you can come back with some Vallejo Model Color Light Brown. And what we're going to do is we're going to dry brush all the entire body. Basically, just give it a light dry brush, you know, kind of make him look like he has frosted tips, right? And just don't go too heavy with it. If you do, don't worry about it. You can just go back over it with either the flat brown or with the Scrofulous Brown, to bring the color back to where you want it, and then just go back and dry brush it again. So we're not too far into the painting process right now, so it's easy to fix simple mistakes like that. So we'll just get some dry brushing done, and we'll be back in a minute. Now after we get the dry brushing done, what we want to do is we want to come back with basically a 50-50 mix of Acrylics Earthshade to Nuln Oil with, so basically I did 2 parts Nuln, 2 parts Acrylics Earthshade, 3 parts Lamy Medium to thin it down a little bit. And we're going to want to use the Acrylics Earthshade portion of it all over the areas with the orange. Or pretty much over the entire body, but that area that is mainly meant for the orange areas. Now the Nuln Oil, I did a pot of just straight Nuln Oil with 1 to 2 Lamy Medium, and what we're going to do with that is after this first one dries, we're going to come back with the second one and go over all the darker areas to really try and deepen those shadows. So remember, we'll just we'll use the Acrylics Earthshade Nuln Oil over the whole body, and then we will come back with straight Nuln Oil and go over the darker areas. Okay, after we get that all that shade put on there and dried, you might want to come back with your light brown that you used to dry brush a minute ago, and just go through and pick out some of these strands of hairs. Kind of give it a small highlight. And this paint should still be pretty thin, so it'll be rather transparent, but after a couple times going through, it should pick up pretty nicely. Just take your time, go through, pick out some hairs, not all of them, just some of them. And don't, you're going to want to do the face. You're going to want to get over in this area right here, down here on the bottom of the muzzle, and don't forget the other side of the face also. You'll want to do a little bit right above the eyebrows, but ideally we're going to want to pull this brown back in just a little bit towards the top of the forehead. So let's get that done. Alright, after we get that done, what we want to do is I'm going to come in with some German Grey, some Vallejo Model Air German Grey. And if you notice down here, he's got some little digits on his feet. I'm going to hit that area with some German Grey. And then his fingers up here on the crossbow, we'll hit that with German Grey. And then you'll want to do his nose also. Okay, after we get done doing his nose, toes, and fingers, we will come back with some Reaper oiled leather, and we will work on his ammo pouch and his shoulder straps, and we'll be right back. Okay, now we'll do the ammo boxes. And for the ammo boxes, I've chosen to use a Reaper Dark Steel, which is, I believe, 9205 is the number. And we just want to basically just hit the outside edges of all the boxes. Try and stay away from the leather. And make sure you do both sides. And we're also going to use the same color for the his crossbow. So might as well go ahead and do that now while we got the color out. Okay, once we get that done, we'll come back with some non-oil and we will shade down this strap and his pouch. Remember not to let it pull too much in one area. We don't want stains, we want it shaded. If you do see any pulling, just kind of dry your brush off a little bit on a towel and come back and pick it out. We're also going to go ahead and shade his crossbow, since we just went ahead and painted that anyways also. Just try and not spill over on the areas you've already done with any of the paints. The shade probably wouldn't hurt too much, so I wouldn't be too concerned about spilling shades. Just, as always, just keep it thin and don't let it pull up. Okay, we got that shaded and dried. We can come back with our oiled leather. We can add a little bit of light brown to it actually, and come back and do some edge highlighting on his bag. Not too much. And then we'll go back through and we'll hit all those ammo straps, the tops of them, to give it some highlights. Like I said, you just want to get the exposed sides, right? And then down here on the strap portion where it meets the bag, I'll highlight around that also. And don't forget underneath his arms. Then we'll grab a little bit of aluminum, Vallejo Model Air aluminum, and we will hit these bolts on his pouch that hold the satchel to the strap. And then we'll go through and we'll hit some of the edges, the top side edges of all of our ammo boxes. Don't worry about doing the bottom side, leave that side in shadow. Then after we get the ammo pouches or the ammo boxes done, we'll come back with some Reaper Dark Steel, or Tarnished Steel, I mean. And we'll come in and we'll highlight his crossbow a little bit. You don't want to do a lot, just, you know, do the top sides, thin your paint out just a little bit. I mean, you don't need it too thin. We're just trying to give a little bit of shine to the tops. Get these little knobs on the end pretty good. Just give it a little bit of edge highlighting where the sun might be hitting it, and we can get some reflections going on. Now we'll come back with some Vallejo Model Color Beige Red. And we're going to hit his lips a little bit. Try and give him some color in his face. You don't want it too bright, so just barely touch on him. So you don't want to distract too much from the upper portion of the face. So we're going to put a little bit of that on there, and then we'll come back with some light flesh and just barely touch right in the center in the middle. So our light flesh, like I said, we're just going to basically just touch it in the middle of the face, or the middle of the lips, just to try and give that area some color. Now if you want, you could try and pick out his teeth in his mouth, but they're really not formed. I mean, you can put a little of this light flesh on each side if you wanted to insinuate where his canines would be, but I don't think you really need to. And we'll be back in a second. Here we are with our finished product, Chewbacca from Star Wars Legion. I've chosen to base mine in a forest style. Feel free to base yours however you like. Remember, if you like this video and would like to see more, click like, subscribe, and share to help my channel grow. As always, feel free to leave comments below. Just one rule, make them great. Have a good day.